Welcome in to another episode of the WestsLife Podcast. I am your host, Josh Barnett, and we are brought to you by Holman Barnes Group, which includes West Ashfield Leagues Club, the best place to watch the games live and loud. You can do that on a Saturday when we take on the Warriors, and the girls' game, which escapes me. I'm sure Az will fill me in. I actually can't remember when the girls are playing next week, but we'll preview those games on Wednesday night. We're coming in a little bit early. We're getting our episode done before the Matildas game tonight. We just saw that Sam Kerr's out again. But so you guys who are watching us live, joining us live tonight, can be free to watch the soccer. And those listening back, you'll either be really, really angry on a Tuesday morning or really, really pumped for the soccer. So come on, Matildas. Yes, give us a follow at WestsLife Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and in the profiles for those pages, you can find our link tree, which will send you in any direction you want. If you want to find an outlet to listen to the podcast, our YouTube channel. Shouts to the people who are tuning in tonight a little bit early, off schedule. We try to keep the schedule as clean and consistent as possible. But we just couldn't bring ourselves to get in the way of the Matildas tonight because literally probably no one would have listened. Patreon.com/WestsLife. Super Patreon Gussie has a little surprise for us later in the show, which is worth sticking around for. He's put together something in collaboration with Mr. Bashara this morning. But we'll go to our special guest tonight. So from the Australian Broadcast Corporation, it's corporation, isn't it? A C?
I'm going to say yes.
It's only your employer. Joel, how are you going on this Monday evening? Of course, some may remember Joel from a event pod this season not too long ago.
Yeah, it came on for event pod, I think maybe after like round 2. Really straight into
this
it.
Season.
Yeah.
This season's just flown by, hasn't it?
It has. But hello, Josh. Hello, Aaron. Thank you for having me on again. Yeah, not too bad for a Monday. I feel like Mondays for us Tigers fans are sort of sorry day. So happy sorry day to all the Tigers fans. And not doing too bad. We can get into it a bit later, obviously. But after a loss now, I don't feel as bad as I used to. And I don't know what has changed for me, but I'm feeling all right. Not bad for a Monday.
Sorry day. You definitely do work at the ABC. That's a very ABC thing to say. Aaron, Mr. Thompson, you watched the game. We watched the game with several other angry, passionate West Tigers fans at West Ashfield Leagues on Sunday. We'll watch both games on Sunday afternoon on the big screen. Your first visit to the mothership that is West Ashfield. Despite the result, it wasn't a bad afternoon. We shared a pizza. It was $9 for a pizza. Unbelievable. So shouts to West Ashfield putting on that deal there. But how you're 24 plus an extra, give it 25, 26 hours since full time yesterday, Az.
Yeah, g'day Josh, g'day Joel. Bit disappointing, the result, obviously. No one wants to lose the way we did. Yeah, it's becoming a regular thing that we're waiting on Monday morning / afternoon for these weekly apologies to come through. And most of them this season have included something to do with how the Tigers have been, I guess, quote unquote, robbed in some way, shape or form.
You'll have.
Yeah, it's becoming a weekly tradition. Hopefully it doesn't stay that way, but there's definitely a bias against the teams that aren't so crash hot.
Yeah, the theme of the show tonight is we're going to start with referee stuff. Let's start with Sheensy's press conference and him talking about them there.
Other than they first try, a bit disappointed. I feel there was a forward pass in that try. Then the bounce came back for them. So when it's things are happening, they're happening against you like that. So we didn't get any luck there. But I was pretty disappointed with a few of the decisions. I got to congratulate Rick for coaching a side that didn't give away extra set of six, according to our statistician. So very good coaching.
Was it I think it was the first try of the second half where it might have been a tap on or something from Jack White. Is that the forward pass we're talking about?
Oh no, there was a couple. There was one second half, first try, the lead up pass. I was, looking at it, I was pretty unhappy with that. So that's something I'll take up with the referees as I do every week. So, it's just a bit disappointing, a number of issues. But saying that, the ball bounced their way tonight, and we had probably the opportunity to win it and didn't. Right up to that last set, we could have got back into the game.
Joel, it's obviously the theme of the show. We're going to talk about the officiating, but does it make it worse because the team is we basically need every bit of help we can get? It kind of compounds a little bit more. Or do you feel that we have been absolutely hard done by in I feel like recent years from the officiating?
No, I agree with all that. The last few years, it seems, maybe even half a decade or more, we've just had, and I get it. I know a lot of teams will always complain about, the refs on the other team side and all this sort of stuff, but surely there has to be some sort of stat out there that shows that the Tigers and the teams that have been struggling the last few years, the Dogs and the Dragons, just don't get the rub of the green. Those 50-50 calls are never going to go our way. And even I don't even know if it's got to do with something, we have 40,000 home grounds. And if we were just to play at maybe Leichhardt and Campbelltown, our home crowd would be much more vocal, and then we'd get a few more calls going our way. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I do think that, and I think most people would agree, the lower ranked teams really just do not get the calls go their way.
I'm trying to think of a bad call at Leichhardt in recent times. Definitely Campbelltown. We had the Luciano Leilua. We didn't. He scored a try and they didn't even send it upstairs.
Yeah,
we've had it. Yeah, I feel like Campbelltown. We've had a couple of dodgy things, but Leichhardt, we had I think it was Melbourne or Manly scored after basically the buzzer didn't go off for half time in time, and they got an extra play and scored on the buzzer when it should have been full time. I remember that Leichhardt. That was several years ago now, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
you're right. Like you think of a couple of examples, whereas I'm sure most of it would have gone our way.
Yeah, most of them seem to be on the road for sure.
Yeah.
Az, are you still there? Your camera's off, but you still got audio.
Again, has it? Gosh,
that's all right. All good. We can hear your voice loud and clear. What were your thoughts on the Las Vegas Raiders in this one?
Yeah, they're definitely not shy quarterbacks, are they? Yeah, it's getting ridiculous, honestly. The thing that frustrates me about the bunker and not being able to rule on forward passes or passes that have gone forward out of the hands would probably be the better way to describe it, is they can rule on when a player is offside or in front of a kicker or whatever by a micrometer, like inches, and they're offside, yet they can't say that player has thrown the ball forward and it's then therefore traveled even further forward. And the case with the first one in the second half, or which was the third of the game, we had 3 tries scored against us that were directly involving a forward pass or a forward pass in the play before. That one, the ball touched the ground. The bunker should have been able to overturn that one because that's technically a knock-on. It's gone forward and hit the ground forward, so that's a knock-on. Like, why the frick has the bunker not pulled that one back for a knock-on at the very least?
Well, I'm going to change it up a little bit. So I'm going to mix Sheensy's presser with Graham Annesley's weekly report press conference that he did this afternoon. So he addressed it. He was asked about it, and here is him. The first clip of him talking about he only addressed. Sheensy mentioned a couple. There was a couple of them. This is purely only the Whiten one. That he didn't even address the other one. So obviously the one leading to a try by Jack Whiten. So here's what Annesley said today in regards to that.
This one, however, is pretty close to the centre camera. We're only 40 metres out. So we're 10 metres from where the position of the camera is. And you can see as Jack Whiten passes this ball, if you look at the motion of the hands, appears to be forward. The ball floats over the top. There's an attempt to bat the ball on there. And you can see the touch judge at the bottom of the screen, who is pretty much in line with this. And you can also, I just go back here to after Jack Whiten passes the ball, he gets knocked over, which always makes things look worse after a ball is passed and a player gets knocked over. And of course, to finish it off, it hits the ground and bounces, which makes the whole thing, look a bit of a mess, to be honest. But the only reason it's an issue, or the only reason it will be an issue, is if the ball's passed forward out of the hands and is passed directly forward. And I think looking at this one with a camera on the halfway line, I don't think you can reach much other conclusion than this was a forward pass. So the touch judge cleared it, and of course we know that Sebastian Kris went on to score. Any questions on that one?
What's the touchy doing there?
Yeah, we'll get to the next part of that. But Joel, look, Graham Annesley's come out and he's admitted they're wrong. Not for the first time we've heard Graham. But we've been talking about it being an apology today. I don't think he uses the word sorry. It's just like, oh, we got it wrong. But
Yeah.
Does that make you feel any better as a West Tigers fan?
Not at all. I actually didn't even think Aaron's completely right. It is a knock on. And Graham Annesley just said it then that the ball travelled forward and hit the ground. A knock on. He should know that's a knock on. Very
Maybe
strange. It annoys me, I think, a little bit more. Also, I think you're going to talk about the touch judges next, but I remember watching and he stood there and they started to make their break and he was still standing there as if
he was thinking about it.
Yeah. Should I call this back? No, I got it. No, I'm not going to say it. Got a couple of dollars on camera. Yeah.
As I'll go to you, we'll go to the next part when he's so Annesley goes on further.
I mean, clearly he's not ignoring forward passes, but from his perspective at ground level, he's got a number of things happening here. As I said, you see Whiten gets jolted back after he passes the ball. The ball then travels across the face of is that Young, I think, and then hits the ground. So there's like three things happening in the one incident. Now, for one reason or another, that's affected his judgment of that particular pass. And no doubt from where he was, he thought the pass was okay. If he doesn't think the pass is okay, he calls it forward. There are plenty of times I've seen passes in games where I see touch judges call it forward and I think, really, that doesn't look like a forward pass to me. Here we've got an example of one where the touch judge has gone with the play because he clearly felt it wasn't forward. But you can only look at the evidence that we've got to look at, which is a camera that is not in line with it, but as close as you can get to being in line with it other than if the pass was thrown on the halfway line. And I don't think any logical observer or reasonable observer would look at that and say it's not a forward pass.
Yeah, as a reasonable observer, you're literally paying six figures to hold that literally in line with it, Graham. As what a whole lot of absolute bullshit there from Graham. Like to say that Jack Whiten being tackled made it harder to determine if it was a forward pass. So we're not talking like it's not a forward pass, it's a line ball. It's like almost an offside penalty. It went that far forward.
Yeah, he's always trying to come up with excuses for them. That to me is the worst part. There's no accountability. It's like, oh, they might have seen it this way, so therefore that's there. He did the same thing for the no try in the first minute of our game against Newcastle. And he did the same thing for the try not being pulled up in our first game against Canberra where Brooks was shoved in the back. It's the same thing over and over and over again. Excuses, excuses, excuses.
One last clip. So he gets asked about whether the bunker can be used to overturned forward passes.
Definitely forward. Tigers robbed again, but
Yeah. And I know that there are people who would suggest that we should be able to use the existing technology that we have to rule on these types of incidents. But how do you determine which ones you do and which ones you don't? As I said, there were other examples. There was another pass in this game on the far side of the field where the ball was lofted over the top. It was called forward. And, you could probably mount an argument that that wasn't forward. It was, one like we looked at last week. There were other passes in this game where, short passes where, again, you look at it and you say, gosh, it could have been, but you don't know for certain. So which passes do we call it into play for, and which ones not? I mean, how do you have kind of the blatant test? Who decides what's a blatant forward pass and what isn't? So it will get us into even more strife because we'll have people arguing about whether it should have been used on one and not on another. At the moment, it can't be used on any of them. And remember, we've got a referee, 2 touch judges who are as close as you can get to the action, closer than cameras in most cases, and certainly more in line than cameras. But at times, they can be wrong too.
Yeah, a lot of concerning things amongst there. So he says to when can you use them? So I had a bit of I saw Mr. Bashara, he said on Twitter today, he doesn't think the bunker should be allowed to be able to rule on forward passes. But honestly says there, when do you know when to use it? Why can you not use it if it's just clear evidence beyond reasonable doubt? He himself said with his pass, this Jack Whiten one, that any logical person looking at this can say it's a forward pass. So why can't the bunker intervene when it's just out and out, like obvious? Like if it's a line ball, then just say, look, there's not enough evidence to overturn. We do that with groundings and all sorts of things.
Exactly. There are so many other areas of the game where it's like, well, they use discretion here. Why can't they use discretion there? And for me, the forward passes, the whole thing, like I'm as a one-eyed observer, a lot of the time, I'll call a pass forward if I think it's floated forward, when obviously that's okay because like forward momentum, players are running forward, the ball may float forward, especially if it's a windy day. But for blatantly obvious ones where the ball has clearly come forward out of the hands, that's where the line has to be drawn. That's where the bunker should be able to rule on them, because there were 3 in that game that directly led to Raiders tries one way or another. There was the first try of the game before they got that miracle bounce off the kick in the in goal. There was a forward pass there. The second try they scored from Hudson Young, the play before the try was scored, there was a forward pass thrown, probably about 20 metres out. And then there was that one they were talking about, the Seb Chris one, I think it was at the start of the second half, where that was both a forward pass and a knock-on. Like, pick your poison. Like, that's both of them. That should have been pulled back one way or another, and there's no excuses for that.
What are your thoughts on this, Joel? Do you think we should be able to use the bunker for forward passes?
Yeah. It's tough. Like he said there, when should we rule on a forward pass and when shouldn't we? Like if it goes forward, rule on a forward pass. That should be it. I mean, obviously there's going to be some that aren't going to get called because they're line balls, and that's just slightly ahead of line balls, and that's fine. But like we know we have the technology. We know it can be done. If you watch the swimming, they have that world record red line. I'm sure that could be.
Oh, that's been around 20 years. Yeah,
exactly. That could work somehow.
The issue there is what Az said though, because the ball can travel.
Yeah,
with inertia and the wind and etc. The ball can travel forward. It's about how it comes out of the hands.
Then you can. I'm sure they're able to watch the hands. Like, they have rule on tries when there's 4,000 people on top of each other. It's doable. And obviously you don't want the game to keep stopping and starting, but it's the howlers. It's the one from yesterday's game where it's quite obvious
Yeah.
that you should. And I think someone just said in the comments there, why couldn't that be a captain's challenge?
Yeah.
If that's the time to do it, then say, okay, I want to challenge that pass that led to that try because it was clearly forward.
And if it's inconclusive, you keep the challenge.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is the rule anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Any more from Sheensy? We'll go back to Sheensy talking elsewhere in this game. Let's go to Sheensy talking about Brooksy. Let's talk a bit of Brooksy.
What do you think of his performance?
Yeah, he played well. He's in his last handful of games for us, and I'm pleased for him that people have shut up and stopped bagging him, and so Manly have got a good kid there.
Sucks that he's leaving next year.
Well, it is what it is. Players come and go. Isn't Whiten leaving Canberra? Those things happen. So, but we've just got to overcome that, and that's the way the game rolls. Everyone, no such thing as very, very rarely a one-team player, one club player these days in professional sport. So, but I'm really pleased for Brooksy showing what he's got. We've missed him. We've missed him with Adam Dewey on a regular basis, and then Appy with the broken jaw. So we just haven't had consistently a spine on the field for periods of time, which hasn't helped us either.
As it might have been one of Brooksy's best games this year. He's been out injured a little bit, but he was really good last week. And we'll see in the player ratings later on. He got pretty good ratings from the fans as well.
Yeah, he had a few howlers, but that's the thing with Brooksy. It's always going to be a rocks and diamonds performance. My favourite play of his was when Rapana was involved in a tackle. I think it was like third tackle or something. He puts in a little chip kick over the top all the way down the other side of the field, and we almost score a try off it. Like we get a repeat set, which was a really, really smart bit of footy from Brooksy.
Joel, was your thoughts on Brooksy?
Yeah, I thought he had a great game. I was really happy with him yesterday. He's still Brooks, and he isn't the game manager that we always wanted him to be, but I thought he had a pretty good game. A couple of nice kicks in there as well. I think he had a try assist. So, I heard people saying like, would you like to give Dane Laurie and Brooks a whole year together? I don't think so. I still think Brooks leaving is the best thing for us, and for him.
And the best thing for him.
I really sorry.
Just echoing what you said. Best thing for him.
Yeah, and I hope he gets that number 6 spot because he will do so much better as a 5'8".
Here's Sheensy, last bit of the press conference, talking about Charlie Staines.
It wasn't. He was only going to tear it if he kept playing. Is that fall down on me?
You're good.
I was going to say it's happened to the coach as well, not just the boys. No. It's a minor strain, but I would doubt he'd be available next week. But we'll see.
Yeah, so poor. We're wondering why Charlie Staines went off late in this game. So hamstring. The poor kid can't take a trick.
I think it might have actually been after he scored his try, because he was in the hands of the trainer while Appy was taking the conversion. So I thought that might have had something to do with it. And he was getting a bit of a rub down on the field or something. So I thought maybe he had tweaked something in scoring the try, because obviously he did a fair bit of running to be on the other end of that, considering the play started all the way over the other side of the field, and the other end of the field in Noffa's corner, and then it finished in his corner down the Raiders' end. So yeah, I feel bad for him. He, like I said at Ashfield last night, he's definitely a first grade back, and we definitely need those. Yeah, like you said, he just can't take a trick. Poor bugger.
Joel, would you like to see Charlie to get re-signed? There are rumours of him going back to Penrith, but he's without a contract officially.
No, I think so. I think he staying on the field, he could make a pretty good winger for us. Pace is always something that you need. I know he's not much of a defender, but he's very quick, and I think all teams need that sort of Saab and Adokar kind of winger.
Yep.
I feel so bad for him because he came over here. I think it was a swap with Peachy, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Peachy's played a lot more games for Penrith than Staines has played for us this year.
I hope they give him another crack, give him another year. We definitely need quality wingers. The speed, as you said, Joel. He's an unbelievable finisher. Like he does his job as a winger. Obviously, he's not worth huge money, but I'd love to.
Not yet,
I'd be happy. Yeah, not yet.
Yeah,
He's still young.
he
He's
could
only
grow.
22, I think. So he's still a kid. So
and you can't really blame him for the medical emergency he suffered after the Manly game, which ruled him out for so long. Like that was just a really, really unfortunate thing.
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned before, that we're at West Ashfield yesterday, so they are offering get up to 50% off an event space. So if you've got a party or a function, if you book it on a Monday to Thursday, you can host it at West Ashfield, Holman Barnes Group. Just quietly, I did that for my wedding. I had my wedding on a weekday and got 20% off. So they're talking my language here. It wasn't at West Ashfield though. holmanbarnesgroup.com.au and /our clubs. There's a pretty big link there. Just go to holmanbarnesgroup.com.au if you're interested in an event space for absolutely anything. You can hire out that room with the massive screen that we're watching the footy on. They've got all sorts of spaces. How good was the pizza too? It's really
it was pretty good.
Proper Italian wood fire pizzas too. So the food's there's top notch as well. So I'm assuming they cater it and all that sort of thing. So Holman Barnes Group.
Twally wasn't there to pour a schooner though.
No, Twally wasn't there pouring a schooner. He was making tackles. They could have got Sean Bloor was around. He was still in Sydney. He could have been pouring beers. Pour a frothy for me, Bloory. Righto, on to the news. So I think we said it on Wednesday's show, as I don't know, all the shows are blurred into one. But Jaden Sullivan, we heard he was signing. He'd agreed to sign with the West Tigers on a 3-year deal. Old mate Buzz from the Telegraph, he's reporting 2.2 over 4. So Joel looking at about $500K per year for Mr. Sullivan from the Dragons. What are your thoughts on this signing?
I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. I think he, again, he's young, and he certainly has some skill. He's got a bit to work on, but there is certainly something there with him. And I was doing I went looking at or speaking to some St. George followers and stuff, and a lot of them are quite upset about it. They were quite keen on possibly not necessarily building a team around him, but sort of using him as one of the players they could build a team around. And I mean, no one's going to know better than the fans of that team. So I like it. I think it's not that much money. Even if he's just a backup half or whatever he's going to be, I'm all for it.
Well, you, Az, what are your thoughts on Mr. Sullivan coming over?
I was asked this question last night at Ashfield as well. Honestly, at this point, we can't be too picky. He's going to be a bit of a liability defensively without a proper system in place. And I don't know if we have that because obviously we've struggled with our defense this year. He will add a lot more in attack, though, which is probably what we need more of a priority in. Because if we can start defending at least as half decently as we were doing early this season when we were conceding on average 2.5, 3 tries a game, it was going a lot better than after we flogged the Cowboys and then started conceding 5 tries a game, most games. But yeah, once we get into the 20-meter zone on the attack, we just go completely to water. Having so many different halves combinations is part of the cause of that. And he would at the very least add a new element of, I guess, stability to the halves. And the more he plays, the better he'll get, the better will be in attack. And yeah, I think that could only be a good thing. But yeah, defensively, a liability, needs to sort that out.
Yeah, look, he's only 22. If you remember Benji, I've mentioned this on the show before. If you remember Benji in his first years, he was an absolute liability as well, and we hit him on the wing. So, yeah, how many young halfbacks are actually good defensively? Like Cleary's a bit of an outlier in that one. He's pretty good defensively. Like, there's not many 22-year-old halfbacks that tackle like hookers. So, I don't know. I'm excited to see what he can bring. He's young. He's fresh. As Joel mentioned earlier, Brooksy moving on is probably good for both parties, and yeah, maybe a new look for us and something for Benji, someone for Benji to work on.
Just like Brooksy, I think Sullivan will be better as a running 6. If we can get an organising 7, he'd be a good running 6.
Yep, and that could be Aiden Caesar, I guess.
Yeah.
Another story, cool little. This was more of a feature article rather than news. If you want to look up Christian Nicolus's story in the SMH, he did a story with Dream Baller. I just thought this was a cool little quote. So he said, "This whole year has been surreal. I never expected to play one NRL game, especially this year. I want to win a comp at the Tigers. I want to play for Fiji and Samoa. I want to play for New South Wales. We're on the up here. We'll all be hungrier again next year." As we talked a little bit about this yesterday on the way to West Ashfield Leagues, but yeah, it's good to hear from this young kid who's very humble.
Yeah, for sure. I love seeing articles like this, like the young kids who've been given their shot. They're hungry, they're passionate, they want to succeed. The other part of the article that you didn't mention, well, that's not mentioned in that quote, is the fact that he's so humble, like how he goes and checks the team list every week to make sure he's still there. He's working hard in training and during games to be the best player he can be. Obviously, he's got a bit of work to do in regards to communicating as a fullback, but I love seeing this sort of thing. It's good to see that he wants to win a premiership with us, and I hope one day he does. We just need to lock him down and get him to sign a big contract nice and soon.
Absolutely. Joel, what are your thoughts on Dream Bullers season?
I love him. I love him so much. I love him as a player. I love him as a person. As Aaron said, he just seems like a lovely guy. I was lucky enough to run into him after the Cowboys when we won at Leichhardt, and I think he'd scored his first try that night as well.
Yeah, that's in the article.
And he was so didn't know what to do that someone was like interested.
What do I do with my hands?
Yeah, it was very much like that. I was like, "You had such a great game. I'm so like, congratulations, what a try!" And he's like, "Thank you." Like, mate, I love you. Can I give you a hug?
He's fast becoming one of my favorite players. I'm loving what Jareem's doing.
Good comment from Shay Sturgis on YouTube. Said him and Kit Low. How do I say that name as?
I think it's Lalili.
Lalili.
That's all I've got from that. Yeah,
they were very respectful to the older fans at the function. I assume Shay means the one in Canberra on Saturday night. But were the other 40 of them not respectful? But no, that's good. Good to hear. Love the kids. Sign him up, as said. Righto, onto the game itself. So 22-18 was the score in the end. 10-6. So it was tied the second half. 10-6 at halftime. Lost,
and 12-12.
Yeah, so the second half was a tie, which we did last week too. We tied the second half against the Rabbitohs too, didn't we?
No, yeah, 12-12 as well, I think.
Yeah. So second half. Any more thoughts on the game itself? We've talked quite a lot of it. Obviously, the officiating, but outside of the officiating, Joel, what were your thoughts on this game?
It seemed better. It's hard when you're a Tigers fan, a really good game is sort of few and far between. So we get a lot of these games where they play quite well, but just not good enough. And that I think that was one of those games yesterday afternoon. there are signs of a good team there, and there are a few good things. We just lack a few things, like someone who can guide us around the park in the halves. I know we got players like Clemmer and Ice who had quite good games and they lead from the front, but we just don't have that back to get us around. And I thought Dane Laurie tried really hard as well. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. The finish was so like edgy.
West Tigers.
I mean, yes, that's exactly what it was. Very West Tigers. But as I was saying earlier, I felt like once the game was over, normally, like if this had happened last year or the year before last, I would have been furious and just gutted for like the rest of the evening, probably most of today as well. But it was like, we put that kick through, didn't get the ball back, siren went, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go play with the dog. So I don't know if I'm just used to it now.
Yeah, we're just numb to it. I think
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Mm.
Good comment from Kylie, as talking about Noffa's pass to a running Brooks and Stainsy finish here. That was possibly. Have we had a better try than that this year?
Well, we haven't had too many tries this year, to be honest.
Yeah, touche.
I think our try of the year to this point will be that last one against the Cowboys, where the entire spine linked up. All 4 spine players were involved in that try, and Bateman finished it. I think that's probably our try of the season so far. But that one, definitely on the podium at the very least. That was a beautiful piece of footy. Spectacular pass by Nofaluma. He's lost his speed, clearly, but he made up for it with that absolute special pass. And then Brooksy used his speed to get it out to Charlie. And Charlie, the finisher on the other side, was, beautiful try. Loved it.
Yeah, that was like watching your winner out in front coming down the home straight. We're riding Charlie home there. That was.
I think I remember saying, though, just after we scored it, to the guys that we were sitting with, like we were that close to blowing that try in a way that only the Tigers could.
Yeah.
Or would.
Few stats from the game. Possession, look, 51-49 in our favour, so pretty much the same. Completion rates, man, the Raiders 26-40, and to win the game, that's pretty. Look, is that pretty disgusting on us to not beat a team with 65%, 31-40 for us. Running meters pretty much bang on even. Post contact meters, Raiders only 20-ish more, so pretty even there. Line breaks 8-1. We made 1 line break the whole. I guess an intercept doesn't count as a line break, does it? So I guess attacking wise, tackle breaks 48-29 for the Raiders as well. Forced dropouts. Did we force 5 dropouts? Is that right?
We did. Yeah, because there were 3 or 4 of them really early in the game as well.
That has to be a
bit of an
record.
attacking rate on them.
That has to be the most
came
we've
up
had
empty-handed again
in a while. Offloads 8-7, so pretty even there. So Joel, statistically, fairly even. It's just a frustrating. Literally, we're not. As Sheen said in his press conference, I don't think I actually played that clip. Where every game they're in the fight, they're right thereabouts. Like the Raiders are a top 4 side at the moment, I believe. The top 4,
5th.
They're
They're
5th.
4th. They're 5th. Okay, I think they're tied 4th or something. So, but they're up there. They're not the Dragons or the Bulldogs. Like they took it to Canberra in Canberra. So, look, the context, we're just desperate for a win. The boys put up a fight.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying before. Like there's those games where they really do put up a fight. Actually, I think most of the season they have. Maybe not so much that Broncos game.
The Broncos,
on, but most of the
Cowboys.
season- and then the Cowboys. Yeah.
Yeah.
But most of the season they have put up a fight. I do, Canberra completing at 65%. You shouldn't win with that sort of completion rate. But then, we're 77%. You want over 80%, I think, to win. So that's a bit concerning. But then, they're not counting the forward passes and stuff that led to tries.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Anything to add on this one, Az, before we move on to the other games?
Not really too much. I always thought their forward
Hmm.
pack in particular would be very tough to contain. They've got a lot of star power and firepower there, particularly on the bench as well. But I thought we took it to them really well. We just, again, same issue as most of the season. We just weren't able to capitalize on our chances. And we ended up losing the game off the back of that.
Yep. And we'll talk about the players themselves later on in the your player ratings. Missed tackles. I missed the page here. 48 missed tackles. Okay, that's very concerning to 29 there. So, that's not good. So only 83% tackle efficiency. So you're basically missing nearly 2 out of 10. That's almost a tackle a set. So that's not good. Penalties conceded. We conceded 9, them 7, and I think Sheensy mentioned we didn't get a single 6 again. Is that right?
Yeah, we did not get a single 6
1-0.
again.
Yeah. Right, a few stats leaders. Stafford Toll had 4 tackle breaks. Good running by David Clemmer in this one, 193 meters and 77 post-contact meters, and that one line break in the whole game was Dane Laurie when he made that break through the middle there. Literally one line break the whole game. So the table, do we really care about the table that much? It's very even around the top 8.
It's a formality for us now.
Yeah, so we're 4 behind the Dragons, and 55 plus 17 is 672. Yeah, that's fucked. One company that isn't effed, though, that is our friends at Mobile Corp. If you want to support, they support local businesses by managing their IT, their networks, and their mobile devices. If you're a local business owner looking for a partner who would take away the hassle of dealing with IT issues, make sure you have cybersecurity in place and handle all your mobile device needs, then Mobile Corp can help. Mobile Corp is family-run business with long-time supporter of the West Tigers. Reach out to Stephen and the team at Mobile Corp. Check out mobilecorp.com.au. That's mobile, corp.com.au. And our friends at Mobile Corp are also, I was speaking to Stephen the other day, going to be involved with our merchandise item that we're working on behind the scenes as well. So, keep an eye out for that. We'll tell you more once we, it's going to take a while for us to get that up and running, but pretty excited to get that out and see. We've told our Patreon members in the Discord kind of what we're doing and getting ideas from them too, kind of seeing what they like and dislike as well. So, in the other grades, so literally all 4 grades lost by a try this weekend to the Raiders. Would you believe it? So in New South Wales Cup, they lost 28-22. They came back a little. I think they came back from 14-0 down, took the lead, and then lost the lead again, I believe, in this one. But I didn't actually see the game itself. They're down to 11th. Their season is pretty much effed as well. In Jersey Flegg, they lost by 4, so 14-10. In Jersey Flegg, was 8-6 at halftime. So, yeah, just a try each. In the second half, so the Flegg going down by a try as well. They're in 9th place as well. They're it's pretty close in the Flegg. There's a top 5 in the Flegg, isn't it? And they're 4 points.
I think so. Yeah.
They're probably they're probably mathematically. They basically have to win every game here on in, but at least our girls, they're flying the flag. They did lose 28-22 earlier on Sunday as we watched this game as well. Bit of a heartbreaking one, 12 at halftime. Just the girls were just unlucky with injuries and there was a bit of a Murphy's Law with this one with the girls.
Yeah, I will say the one thing that impressed me the most about the girls was whenever they were faced with adversity, they did their best to overcome it. Like we obviously had Ebony go down injured early. She went off the field and then came back. We had Bucky go off the field as well late in the game after, unfortunately,
Who's
being,
Bucky? Sorry.
Lizana Lutu.
Okay.
She went off the field after the Raiders scored their try through Mona Lisa Soliola, I think it might have been. That was a bit unfortunate. And then obviously we had the sin binning of Kezi Apps, which I don't think should have been a sin bin personally. But yep, they fought through the adversity. We ended up scoring a try while Kezi was in the bin after conceding one off the set that followed the sin binning. But the girls didn't give up the fight. They kept in there. They kept at it. Leanne Tafanga scored an incredible hat trick. She was fantastic. The last try she scored in particular was a beautiful catch and pass from Pauline. That was a very impressive pickup as well to get it out to her. Yeah, I was really impressed with the girls. They might have lost, but I don't think they lost any admirers. The Raiders honestly are going to have a very tough team when it comes to playing them on their home field. I think that's in the NRLW at the moment. I think the Raiders probably have the most important home ground advantage and probably the most difficult to overcome, as the Roosters and Tigers have now found out 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, the Raiders definitely seemed like they had a solid, big, heavy team. There was some, it's just real nuggety built ladies in that team. And one with a goatee as well. Joel, what were your thoughts on?
Yeah, so I got to watch bits and pieces of this game. I thought they still looked good. I think prior to this game, they'd only led in 8 points. So 28 is a lot, but their attack is like, I don't know. It's, we're not used to it from watching the men's team play for so long.
Yeah.
So very enjoyable, a very enjoyable team to watch. And yeah, I can't wait to see how they go. I know they've dropped a couple of places on the ladder. They were sitting first, but have dropped down to like 4th now.
Ladder
Sorry,
up, stupidly.
trying to bring that up.
Yeah, I don't have it.
They are 4th. They are 4th. I
Fourth.
keep
Okay.
I think we're
Fourth.
tied second on points, though, aren't we?
Yeah, I think there's
Yeah.
So-
about 3 teams technically second, and Titans
Yeah.
haven't lost a game yet, so they're sitting on top.
Front.
But they look a really good team this year, or first time.
A few stats from the girls' games. The girls had 55% of possessions, 75% in completions, 24 or 32, which is pretty good. Only 71. Again, the Raiders only 71% and 1 as well. Errors 10 each. Penalties 8-7, pretty much. 11 offloads from the girls compared to Canberra's 2s. They do love an offload, the girls, as.
Yeah, offloading was one of the 3 stats they were leading going into the 3rd round. I think it was that, run meters, and there was a 3rd one. I don't know if they're still leading all 3 now, but offloading apparently was a bit of a focus over the preseason because it was been a big focus of their first 3 games, and they've beaten the opposition quite convincingly in all 3.
Yeah. Run meters pretty much even. Post contact meters, Raiders a fair bit more, 588 to 450. Their line breaks 5 each, so everything's pretty even statistic wise in this one too. Very similar to first grade. It was just again the bounce of the ball and injuries and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking to let it slip. So, anything else to add on that game, Az?
I just think they'll take the loss. They'll bounce back against the Cowboys Saturday coming. So that should be a good, fun game to watch too. And we'll obviously preview that on Wednesday. But also, big happy birthday to the Curtin twins.
It is
Emily
too, yep.
and Sophie. It's their birthday today.
Yep. They're 21, 22?
22, I think.
22. Play Taylor Swift song. Righto, player ratings time. So thank you to all who submitted their player ratings for this game. I did a 3-2-1 for the girls too, and I just realised I totally forgot to calculate that. So might save that for Wednesday's show. now. But for the men's, the player ratings: Dream Buller 7.2, David Nofaluma 4.9, Stafford Toa 5.5, Junior Tupou 6.0. Charlie Staines 5.9, Dane Laurie 6.1, Brooksy he's got 8.3, Twally 7.0, Appy Coruscant 8.1, David Clemmer 6.5, Isaiah Papali'i 6.9, John Bateman 6.7, Fanil Pole 6.6, Jakey Simpkin 5.0, Justin Matamua 5.3, Atazi James 5.7, and Alex Safar 5.6. So a lot of 5s and 6s. A very mediocre scorecard this week. Joel, any numbers there? Do you think are harsh? Do you think?
Yeah. Actually, no, it doesn't look too bad. It's quite similar to what I've got for the most part. Nofaluma maybe could have got up to 5.
Yeah, I think people are a little bit harsh on Noffa
fair
in this one. He did make that mistake at the end, but
yeah.
Yeah.
He also, I mean, I know he took that intercept for that try, and he ran quite well and showed his pace. But that quite often in that corner they would throw the ball and he would go for an intercept, and he does this a lot, and he will miss. He really tries to get that intercept because he knows he can be pretty quick, but I just wish he'd just sort of stay out on his wing there. Again, it worked this time, sure, but what if it doesn't? And there was, I'm sure, another pass that went over his head and then went out.
Yeah.
Canberra had a few that went out early on in the game. Yeah, he just got to be careful and not run sideways and backwards so much would be great.
Yeah, we talked about the bit of this yesterday as the sideways run. I don't mind Noffa. People bag out his little sideways shuffle, but as long as he doesn't go backwards, I don't mind it. Is like eventually sometimes he will find a hole, kind of like a running back finding a break in the offensive line in NFL. If he shuffles across and then finds a line and goes forward, I don't mind it. It's if he gets driven backwards and loses ground, I think it's a bad thing. People kind of bag it out too. And wasting a little bit of time too in possession, like those extra 10, 15 seconds of him going laterally, it's actually a bit of time for the forwards to kind of creep back and get their breath back. And the more minutes or seconds you have in possession is actually a good thing. So I don't know. I actually, like Noffa. I wouldn't say like it, but don't hate Noffa's, his little lateral runs there. So like I said, if he loses ground from it, then but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you do it. If you make ground, you make ground. So, what about you, Az? Any of these numbers stand out that don't seem overly fair?
Well, I'm surprised Brooksy got as high as he did. Obviously, he's a very polarizing character when it comes to these player ratings, and often he'll get marked down fairly harshly. So I'm actually quite surprised that he's as high as 8.3. The other one I think probably surprises me a little is Isaiah Papali'i. We're starting to see the para.
Yeah, I thought he was good.
Papa. So I thought he might be a little bit low. All things considered, there, I would have given him maybe probably about an 8.5, thereabouts, because he's been quite strong the last few weeks. It's just a shame we haven't been giving him the good early ball that he needs, the good early ball that he was getting from Moses and Brown at para. If we can start doing that a lot more next year, he will start running over the top of players like he was doing for the Eels. And there was another one I was thinking, who was it? I feel like it's a little bit harsh to judge Charlie only a 5.9 considering his limited game time. In what he was playing, he was pretty solid as well. Definitely not out of place in our backline.
Dane Laurie 6.1. I probably would have given Dane a 7. I thought he was ripping in and really, really trying hard and showing his passion that he really wanted to win this. He could float around because he's obviously leaving the end of the year. I quite liked Dane.
Quick question for you, Josh.
Sure.
If we win the game, how much higher do you reckon all of the players' scores are?
20,
like 0.5?
Another
one whole point higher?
You probably add 20% to every score.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely
Difference
well,
between winning and losing.
I can't remember, but definitely our last win. I mean, the last win was a 66-6, so I think we had a lot of 8s in that one. But yeah, if we had won this one, definitely those 5s become 6s and 6s become 7s probably. So, righto, and on to some of the best comments in this. So thank you to those who filled out the form for the 10-1 player ratings. Keep an eye out for it on Saturday evening. What is it? 5:30 game. So game finishes about 7:30. So check our socials, Facebook and Twitter for the link to the Google. What do you call it? Google survey. Miles says, being a Canberra local, I went and seen all 4 teams. I went and saw all 4 teams, Miles. Just work on your grammar there. All 4 teams, Jersey Flag, New South Wales Cup on the Saturday, and the women's and the men's on the Sunday. Not one win all weekend. I know the women's and flag are doing all right. However, to sum up this club and the year in one quote, so close yet so far. Keep up the great work on the pod, boys. Well, I feel bad for banging out your grammar because you just complimented us at the end there. Justin said, once again, the refs decide the game. It was far from a perfect game, but they got close and probably should have won. Doreen says, blind Freddie could see all those forward passes. NRL's corrupt. We were the better team. And that's it for this week. Patreon.com/WestsLife. We've got Shane's rant and a little gift from Gussie to finish the show. So Shane's rant here. Another game, that's Shane Coet, not Shane. For the people might not listen for a while. Shane Coet, our Benji Marshall tier Patreon, along with Gussie and a couple of others. So they get to have a rant at the end of each show. Joel, send it via email. But yeah, like I said, Gussie's got a little gift for us. But Shane's rant this week, another game that was there for the taking. That touch judge's eyes are either painted on or stains impeded his line of sight. Both referees and touch judges have both lost the art of refereeing. They know they can refer anything to the bunker, which has affected the quality of any budding referee. It's a fair point. The game has turned to shit in most aspects at this level. The bunker rules and everything else bar forward passes. Why? Nothing makes sense in our game anymore. To all the younger fans, I really feel for you. You never got to see rugby league at its peak in the late 80s and 90s. I disagree. I reckon it was early 2000s, but maybe that's because that's when I was a teenager as well. A positive from yesterday was we looked better in attack, and Brooks may have finally found some form after an 8-year hiatus. So a little backhanded compliment from Shane. Noted Brooksy disliker. He is Shane. Yeah. How old are you, Joel, if you don't mind me asking? You're 30-ish?
Yeah, 39.
You're 39. Wow. What's your secret? I didn't think you'd be older than me. When do you think rugby league was at its peak in your life?
That's a great question.
So you would remember the 80s slightly.
Slightly, yeah. It's when I sort of started getting into it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe early 2000s. I mean, it just depends. Being a Tigers fan.
Yeah.
Whenever we're playing well is the best. There's been a lot of. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't have an answer for you for that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Just looking off footage, I think early 2000s. Like even pre-West Tigers winning the comp, you look at the origins and that sort of thing, that there's like Fittler, Johns, Lockyer, like that sort of era. I don't know. That was me as a teenager growing up playing footy. So maybe we all just kind of latch on to I guess people with the 90s as well, they miss, especially Sydney people, they miss having all the Bears and Magpies, Tigers. Who am I missing there? There's another one that was around.
Jets.
The Gold Coast. Jets were they were the 80s. They were gone in mid 80s. Someone in the comments will correct me on that one.
Tried.
The late 90s. Late 90s, we had South Queensland Crushers, Gold Coast Chargers, Western Reds. Yeah, we had 20 teams.
Wasn't there a different Eagles team at some point as well?
Oh, the Northern Eagles, of course. Yeah, Central Coast. They played half their games at Gosford and half at Brookvale. And yeah, I grew up on the Central Coast, and everyone was pretty excited for the Central Coast Bears. and everyone just went, "Fuck that! I'm not going for Manly." So that merger was never going to happen. Like the Central Coast went from going to get their own team to sharing a team with Manly. It was just disastrous. Yeah, and then Manly kicked the Bears out. So yeah, another reason to hate everything to do with the Manly Warringah Seagulls. Seagulls, not Seagulls. Oh, the Seagulls. That was another one we had in the 90s. Before the Chargers, it was the Seagulls. Right, Gussie, here's so Gussie's collaborated with Mr. Bashara today, and here's what Gussie has put together for us. So this is Rob's. So if you're listening on audio, it just will come out as Rob's rant that he's recorded for Gussie here. But if you're watching on the video, maybe turn the kids away because it's quite creepy.
Horrifying.
G'day, boys. My rant this week is that we have gone backwards under Rasheen's Marshall coaching regime. Even with a much better forward pack, the wooden spoon, unfortunately, is a mere formality. We were promised an attractive style with 2005 DNA back in our coaching ranks, but all I see is a simple and mundane attacking style, which only created one line break yesterday, as opposed to Canberra's 8. Canberra were awful in the first half. They conceded a lot of ball, yet we were still behind at half-time. Our 3 tries came off an intercept and 2 kicks, one of which where Brooksy was probably offside. I don't know what they do from Monday to Friday, but we can only judge them on what we see on game day. We seem to be too reliant on Appy Coruscant. God love him, he's our best player by a mile. But for me, there seems to be no attention to detail. Junior Tupu kicking off the ball and going out on the full sums it up. He doesn't even take our kickoffs normally. So what systems do we have in place? And again, where is the attention to detail? The last play of the game sums up our IQ. We got a penalty a couple of metres out right next to the sideline. We kicked it straight out in a touch. Why didn't we take the mark back 10, 15, even 20 metres? Keep Canberra on the line, give yourself some room. And what was our ingenious play on that last play after full time? Put a bomb up. Wowee, that must have taken a lot of thought. And let's have it land 7 metres out from the try line. So even if we caught it, we wouldn't have even been able to get a try. Look, we are just going backwards. This coaching staff needs to be removed. So do management, and especially that CEO who's giving our beautiful home game to New Zealand this week. What a fool. That's my rant.
Yeah, it's good to hear Mr. Bashara's voice there. So for those who are listening on audio, Gussie has used an AI app to turn a photo of Rob into basically his mouth and head moving as he talks. So, which is quite
Sort
scary.
of face tune things, I think it is.
Yeah. It's so thanks for that, Gussie. That's you got Rob back on the show.
Just what I needed to watch before dinner.
Yeah. Now, go watch the Matildas. That'll be a bit better, bit less creepy. So we timed that well. Just I think the Matildas will be kicking off. They may have kicked off. It's just after 8:30.
They kicked off about 4 minutes ago. 4 minutes.
Beautiful. So thank you to everyone tuning in tonight at the earlier time slot. Yeah, we actually had quite a few of you tonight. I thought you'd all be getting ready for the Matildas. So we appreciate every one of you on the Facebook and the YouTube stream, and thank you to the thousands of you that listen to us on audio every single episode. We can't believe, I say this a lot, but the fact that you're West Tigers fans and you want to listen to West Tigers content at the moment is very humbling. So, Joel, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was great to...
Thank you, Josh. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, everyone. That was great.
A trio. Yeah, it was, awesome. And as anything before, we go to Wednesday, 8:30, where we preview the men's v Warriors and the girls v Cowboys. So 8:30 on Wednesday night for that one.
Not too much to add. I think it's already been said already. We did forget to mention David Nofaluma scored his 100th try as a Tiger. So massive congrats to Nofa for that one. He's obviously in an elite class of Tigers try scorers now, considering the second place is now Benji and Rowdy tied on 84, I believe it is. So Yep, Noffa's in a league of his own up there. 104 NRL tries, 100 for the Tigers. So good on him. We'll see. Hopefully, there's a few more at least this season. That's pretty much it for me.
Righto. Yeah. Apart from that, go the Matildas, and as always, fellas, go the Tigers.
Go the Tigers.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the WestsLife Podcast. Please follow us at WestsLife Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and facebook.com/WestsLifePod. You can also support and take part in the show at patreon.com/WestsLife, and give us a subscribe on YouTube and turn notifications on. We'll see you again next time on another episode of the WestsLife Podcast.